Picture yourself heading home after a long day at work. You grab a quick snack from the fridge, sit down on the couch, wrap yourself in a warm blanket, and turn the TV to your favorite channel, and then begin to wind down. Except, now imagine if there wasn't a snack, or a couch, or a blanket, or a TV to come home to at all. Doesn't sound so relaxing anymore, does it? But hey, at least you have a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and shoes on your feet, right? Now imagine if you didn't have any of that either. Oh, and while you're at it, pretend you don't have a job at all. Sadly, this is the exact situation for thousands of people across America. Our country has long faced an issue of homelessness, and the current circumstances involving the COVID-19 pandemic have only made these numbers worse. In the next few minutes, I will be addressing this increasing issue of homelessness in our country, why someone may experience homelessness, and some ways this devastating issue can be lessened. When people hear the word homeless, oftentimes the image of a poorly groomed person holding a cardboard sign or an empty cup may often come to mind. Except this is the stereotypical image of what homelessness is, when in reality it goes much deeper than many people can imagine. Altogether, according to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, by the end of 2019, a total of 567,715 American citizens were left with no place to call home. Currently, almost half of the homeless population are individuals living on the streets alone. About 1/3 of the homeless are families. 1/5 are chronically homeless, meaning they have been homeless for more than a total of 12 months. 1 in 15 of the homeless population are American veterans, and 1 in 16 are youth, living on the street unaccompanied by anyone. Sure, the total number of homeless people may seem small compared to the near 332 million other people living in the country, but in what world is it okay for anyone to live on the streets for any reason? This crisis has only become more dire with the current circumstances of the COVID pandemic inflicting trauma all over the world. One detrimental cause of the virus has been the large spikes of unemployment affecting citizens all over the country. As a result of unemployment, Columbia University professor Dan O'Flaherty states in the Community Solutions blog published on May 11, 2020, homelessness could increase by just 45% in 1 year. That is an additional 250,000 people left to fend for themselves. Not only are more people finding themselves homeless during the pandemic, but those experiencing homelessness may also be more vulnerable to the virus as well. The 2020 edition of the State of Homelessness, which is a yearly updated report done by endhomelessness.org, has features to show homeless people tend to reflect an age 15 to 20 years older than their actual age in terms of all over health. And with the pandemic being so dangerous to people 65 years or older, it can be seen how this may pose a problem for the near 202,623 homeless people currently living over the age of 50. Now, more than ever, it's time to take action toward diminishing homelessness in America. But first, it's important to understand how someone may become homeless. It can be hard to feel empathetic for the homeless when people don't understand how someone ends up homeless in the first place. The Atlanta Mission, an organization formed with the purpose of working to end homelessness, provides a 2021 list of the 7 major causes of homelessness. The 7th major cause is personal hardship. Many people may find themselves caught up in a life-changing situation, such as a natural disaster, a toxic relationship, or a divorce. Any of these circumstances could flip a person's life upside down in the blink of an eye. Coming in 6th is the lack of affordable housing in this country, which also plays a large factor in our homeless rates. In many places, America's minimum wage of $7.25 just doesn't cut it, even for some of the more inexpensive housing. And 5th, not to mention the thousands of people lose any sort of income they may have altogether. Unemployment affects people everywhere. While in some cases, some people find work but are still working in poverty, which is the 4th reason on the list. So even with a job, people may not make enough to afford housing or food. Moving into the 3rd spot on the list is abuse. This leads a life out on the streets after a person escapes their abuser and, in turn, has nowhere to turn after. Illness and disability is one of the top 2 causes of homelessness, for if one cannot maintain a job if they are physically unable to do so. Finally, the lack of healthy relationships is the top reason for homelessness. If one cannot maintain a trusting relationship with others, then who can they turn to when they face a situation that leaves them with no roof over their head? There are many reasons why a person may become homeless, but it can be hard to understand without learning more about how an individual lives life on the streets every day. John Chalice, a concerned citizen for the homeless, decided to go out one day in the summer of 2017 to interview some of the homeless community living in Austin, Texas. And then he later wrote about his experience. He first met with Thomas and Charles, 2 able-bodied men in their 30s, when one of them approached John asking for money. Thomas had just moved to Austin with his girlfriend, but when their relationship took a bad turn, she kicked him out. Charles had also recently moved to Austin, but he did so for a job that ended up falling through. Now, both men are left without a home. John then later ran into an older woman named Christy who had been homeless for almost 2 years at that point. She shared her experiences of being robbed on 2 occasions in shelters, but also her excitement for a possible job opening at a Goodwill. Next, John came across a woman who, according to John, appeared fairly unresponsive to the world around her and wore rags on her feet instead of shoes. John was unable to do much more than get her name and buy her a few things from a convenience store after trying endless ways to get through to her. Next, John sat down with Kevin and Maria, a younger couple who had met at the same truck driving company until Maria had developed back problems that prevented her from sitting long hours in a truck. Along with her back problems, Maria suffers from bipolar disorder, only adding more barriers into her life. Despite her many attempts to find work, she was not able to find a job with high enough pay to get her off the streets of Austin. Every single person John Chalice met was facing their own impossible situation, leaving them feeling stuck in a hopeless circumstance. Homelessness is almost never the fault of the person experiencing it. Being left without a home is sadly the result of many uncontrollable issues, and it's our country's job to help people get back on their feet after facing such hardships. The scary thing about homelessness is that it can happen to anyone at any given time. People of every ethnicity in America face homelessness, and it's not something you can prepare for or sense coming. Victims of homelessness are not to blame for their circumstances, and ultimately, there are a lot more things our country could be doing in order to help bring an end to homelessness. As addressed in the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, changes in our country's housing, healthcare, career pathways, crisis response systems, foster care education, criminal justice involvement, and preventative measures can all help to lessen the homelessness burden in America. A few examples related to these solutions would be to implement more affordable housing and more supportive housing, such as shelters. Other examples would be to increase access to useful job training for those coming out of homelessness, as well as more accessible and attainable health care connected to caring or housing providers. Along with the many things our country can be doing, there are also a number of things you can do yourself in order to help those in need. Martha's Village, an organization created to help those less fortunate, provides an updated list from 2019, giving many examples of what you, as a citizen of the United States, can do to support the homeless community in America. One key way you can help locally is through donating a cash contribution to shelters such as Mary's Place or People Serving People in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Operation Help, an organization focused on providing resources to those in need living in St. Croix County, located in Hudson, Wisconsin. Another way you can help is through volunteering. Places to volunteer would be a local food service, a children's service, a homeless shelter, or a career and education center. Sponsoring a food drive in your area or donating your old clothes are also examples of ways you can help. Even the smallest actions done by an individual person can make a huge impact on the lives of those in need. Homelessness is a growing issue in America, but it doesn't have to be. Consider the factors that contribute to the situations leaving people without homes, and begin to think proactively within your community in order to create positive changes towards minimizing the wide-ranging issue of homelessness in our country. Being homeless should not be a death sentence. There are so many solutions to the problem, and all it takes is a little action from society and yourself. Thank you.